What's going on, everybody? It's your man, DJ K, man. We back again for another episode of Inside the Mind of, where we talk to folks I know about their careers and how mental health plays a role. Obviously, as I said before, I like to target guys because as men, we're really bad at having that conversation. And, I want to try to make it as normal to have that conversation as possible so that, we take better care of ourselves as men. Um, this week on the show, we have a very special guest, um, movie maker, producer, director. He's slowly making me more famous than I deserve. And welcome to the show, Mr. Paul Luba, to the show. Thank you for coming on,
Awesome.
Paul.
Yep. Thanks so much for having me, brother.
Excellent. Well, we're going to start right at the beginning, man. Let's tell the folks exactly what you do. Besides just trying to make me famous.
Right, exactly. So I'm actually like a producer, and I've been in the film industry since early 2017. So I started out as a PA. I started out as an intern. And in the last several years or so, 7 years or so, I've been able to slowly work my way up. I was always interested in film. I love film. I love the behind the scenes. I love the inner workings of, TV, film, everything my whole life. But as I was getting older, people were telling me the only way you can pursue a career like that is, if you're in LA, New York, someplace that's a big film hub. But in the last, maybe 8 or 10 years, that's really changed. And now there's a lot of film opportunity all over the place. And we've been able to find, a really good, successful group of people here in Rhode Island. So that's been almost like a blessing. I was able to stay in the state where I've honestly been my entire life. And I'm able to pursue my career and do, I'm able to live kind of like my dream job and see a lot of other people live their dream jobs here in our small state of Rhode Island.
Word. Yeah, man. Been a lot of good movies filmed in Rhode Island, and I know that you guys have been a part of a good majority of them. What was like what's the hardest part of your day? We'll just dig right in.
No, let's go for it. So it really depends. So there's two types of days. They're the days we're on set and we're shooting movies, and we shoot about 5 to 6 feature films a year here in Rhode Island. And those are very hard days just because they're 13-hour days, 12 to 13-hour days for everyone, for the crew, for the actors, all of that. So those are in and of itself hard just because they're like really, really long, basically. It's long. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of being on your toes. When we're not on set and we're at the office, that's we basically we're a part of like a company that we have, I'd say 5 or 6 full-time employees. And during our shoots, we work, every day in the office. We're there 9 o'clock, we leave at 5 p.m. So it clocks out like a normal 9 to 5 on those days that's we aren't on set. So it's exciting being on set. It's really fun being on set. It's a lot of work being on set too. So the set has definitely kind of like the pros and like the cons. And, for me personally, an average day, it's never the same. If we're in pre-production for a film, we're working on locking in the cast and locking in the crew, and the locations, insurance, payroll, trying to get everything off the ground. So when we begin shooting, everything is running very smoothly. And if it's after shooting, during all of the post-production, we're supervising and managing a lot of the, getting the film ready together, all complete for sale and to get out there into the world, basically. So there's a lot going on. And then obviously when we're on set, it's trying to be able to put fires out before they happen and make sure everything's running very smoothly and make sure, all of yeah, just being able to make sure everything is in one piece and protecting, all of kind of like the money of the film too, protecting the investment. So you don't go over, you do not overspend what the film is worth and what the film is valued at too. So that's something very essential that we kind of have to keep in the back of our minds during each step of the way.
So you were a lot of hats, right?
Yes,
You've done
yeah,
some. So just run down some of the hats that you run on a movie set, because there's a lot of people on a movie set for those who have never been on one, and I feel like
yeah.
you are 3 or 4 of those guys.
Yes, yes, yes. So, it depends on the scale of the film, but a lot of times I'm dealing with the casting, I'm dealing with the hiring, I'm dealing with the legal, I'm dealing with either like the securing the financing or like the budget and making sure kind of like the budget's intact and everything's in place. So the legal specifically, actually, I was going to become a lawyer. I went to college for pre-law and I worked as a paralegal for a few years after college. So because of that, I was able to take a lot of what I learned there, and now I'm able to apply it into the job I'm doing now and into what we're, currently doing now here in Rhode Island. So that has been a huge asset to me. When I was a paralegal out of college, I realized I didn't want to become a lawyer. I didn't want to pursue law. I really wanted to pursue film, but it just so happens like those years of, that being my path for so long, I was able to use a lot of that for my job in the film industry basically today, whether it's negotiating any of the actor deals or like the contracts or anything along those lines. So that's obviously like a big part too. And like as I said, kind of like again, for myself and Chad Verdi Jr., who is also like a partner of mine, it's just our job to make sure the day-to-day operations are in one piece. And we, as I said, the biggest thing is to protect all of like finances, the financing of the film, protect the investment, because each film is only valued at a certain amount, and you need to stay in kind of like the parameters of the kind of like the budget, or else the film's in trouble. So, and all of the financiers are in trouble too. So it's a lot of responsibility. Yeah, as I said, my job changes almost every day, but it just certain things that have to get done, and certain things that I'm responsible for, that if things do go south, then it's not an ideal situation.
So because you wear so many of those like very important hats, finances being probably like the biggest and most important. How do you feel like you juggle, like what kind of stress is that for you, juggling all of those things, and like what do you kind of do to stay even?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the thing. It's like a lot. So, it's like because I'm doing things that are all over the place, the casting, dealing with the finances, dealing with the legal, dealing with the creative, and protecting the asset, which is the film. Because a lot of the things I do are so spread out and aren't directly related to each other, it is sometimes very hard to be able to just keep track of everything and be able to order what exactly needs to be done first, what exactly is kind of like a priority versus everything else. And a lot of times, it's from years of experience and using the best judgment. And just, a lot of times if I have a lot to do, I just open up a Word document, create a big list, and I just take a hard look at it, and I'm like, all right, what is the most important thing that needs to be done to keep everything on track and to keep everything stable and secure and keep the whole film on track. And you prioritize those things, and then there are some other things that you realize that even though they were on your mind, like these things don't have to take a priority until maybe even a day or two later, or a week later, or like a month later, or so on and so forth. So I think the best way is just not making everything too complicated, trying to simplify everything as probably much as you can. And, when you start to simplify things, especially like the tasks that you have to do and able to break everything down, you're able to realize, what's very important and what can take a back seat for a little while at least.
All right. So, um, how does any kind of therapy play a role in like how you cope? Like, are you seeing a therapist, or do you meditate?
No. So I am not seeing a therapist. But that being said, I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I know a lot of people that they've therapy has been able to help them. So I'm a huge advocate for therapy for myself. For the for like the most part, I've always been able to as I said, just if I am going through a lot, or there's all of kind of like the stress or like the pressure.
What does that look like for you? Like, how do you
Yeah.
how do you come down from like a high stress situation? Say you're on the set,
Right.
things are going okay, but then you can see where they might be, almost off the track. It gets to be a little bit stressed out, maybe
Right.
through the day. But then how do you cope with like that stress of
Yeah. I
having?
mean, it's tough. It's taking a step back from things, maybe even taking a step back from the situation as well. Like, taking yourself, for example, if it's a long day on set, a lot happened, some bad, some good, stress, all that, sometimes it's good just to go home, for me, like put like myself in like a room alone and just like decompress, and almost to try to take my mind off of everything that just happened and me being so in the zone for at least like a half hour. And then I can start to I can start to think clearer after that about like, all right, what exactly happened during the day? How did that go wrong? How did that go wrong? But I think just, as I said, taking yourself out of the situation for like a little bit, taking it off your mind, even for a half hour, and then trying to re-enter the situation with hopefully a clearer head. So,
Right. Because I mean, definitely, most movies have decent budgets, and that's you got to make sure you're always on point.
yeah,
Have you ever had a time where like because you deal with the casting, right?
yeah.
Where you've had to like turn somebody down for a role that like they did an okay job, but or it doesn't work with the budget, or you know what I mean, like a situation where like in any other circumstance this person would be in the film. Now you have to deliver this bad news, like, hey, it's not going to work out.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
me.
and that's actually yeah, no, I completely see what you're saying, and it's a tough situation because on a lot of independent film, you have to cast some actors who have sales value, who are already established in other films, and they're known, and everyone knows their name. So it's just trying to find the balance between like, all right, we need these few, we need at least a few actors in there who do have some sales value to be able to sell the film and justify almost like the budget of the film, but we also want to put the best cast forward as well, and sometimes it's almost like a balancing act between the two. And also sometimes there have been times when we've had actors submit for a role, and we have 3 really good tapes or 4 really good tapes, and it's almost like, all right, any one of these actors would be able to bring something really cool to the table for this role. And at that point, we leave it in the hands of the director, as long as it's not going to affect the sales value of the film in either way. But yeah, there have been times we've had to make some very tough calls, and it's and a lot of these actors we know, and they're trying to put kind of like their heart and soul into the film, and it's a tough. So we see all of like the passion that's going into it and all the hard work, and it's really hard to make that choice sometimes when you have 2 or 3 people who are are each able to bring something very cool to the table, and you aren't sure who exactly. It could go either way. So
Nice. I always wondered that, like when it comes to casting, you
Yeah.
know, how you kind of decide, like if there's, or what's the letdown like as a fledgling actor, like
Yeah.
I get that, like there's a lot of no's, you know what I mean, like, and
Mhm.
I work in music,
Right.
I DJ. Not everybody comes with the contract, so I
Yeah.
understand there's a lot of no's with that. What's it like from the other side though? Like you reach out to an actor that you're targeting, and they're like, "Nah, I don't like it."
Oh
Like,
no, that also pretty much happens all the time. There are times when we go out to an actor for a lead role who's very established, maybe, and sometimes depending on the script and the project and the offer as far as the money, sometimes they love what we send them, and sometimes they're like, guys, I don't think the films for me, the genres for me. So it really depends on each actor, and it depends, where they are. We've gone out to some actors that I've been like, this actor or actress is going to be, they're going to be very, very, very hard to get. And it turns out they love the script, they love the project, and we're able to make it work. And then there are some actors we, are also able to go out to, which I'm like, oh, this is going to be a shoo-in, or this could go either way. And it's just, it depends on the script. It depends on like the project, but it is kind of hard. But in this industry, a no is almost as good as a yes, in the sense that if someone gives you a really fast no, you're able to move on. You're able to move to the next person on the list. So that's something I've learned over time and learned in the last few years, that sometimes it's just regarding the script or the scheduling. It's just not a right fit, and you just got to keep moving forward and not get your heart set on one specific actor.
right, but like, so, like, how do you cope with that? Like, how do you not take that personally? You know what I mean?
You,
Like, you've been working
I
on
mean,
these
it's
films,
like a
like
business decision. You
yeah,
can't, you like kind of know that not every script is for everyone, and they may have like kind of like a problem with anything. It may just be like a bad day for them. They may have just seen a movie just like that on TV. They may have just found out something is complicated, not doesn't even have to do with the script, has to do with their schedule or anything. And although at the start, when we used to do a lot of like the casting internally, like we did take it like, oh, wow, like this person or this person's not trying to be involved in our project. But now we understand that there's a lot of things that go into someone signing up for a film. And, even if it's for only like a day, that's still like a full day that they have to be away from either their other job or like their family, or if it's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We understand these films and the film industry is a big undertaking for, so someone has to really like it. And, it could be all kinds of factors we've found too. So we try to not take it too personally, although, sometimes we take it a little bit, but
right. No, I can see that. Especially if it's like you had like maybe wrote the role for them or something like that, where it could be
right,
damn,
right.
oh, like now what do I do, right?
Yeah. And like, as I said, we do 5 to 6 feature films a year. So obviously years ago, like it, we took it a lot more like, oh, these people don't want to be involved in our film sometimes. But now we're like, all right, we know it could be all kinds of things on to the next on like the
Right.
list, and just keep going down the list. So
Have you ever casted someone like a more famous star, and then they get on set and you're like, damn, this was a mistake. Like not
yeah,
so like maybe their attitude is shitty, or maybe like as they start to like flesh out the part, it
yeah.
doesn't work. Like how do you go to them and either fire them, or do you just like recast them later on?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a big star, then chances are you paid a lot of money. So, and chances are there's a financial reason and a sales value reason that they're in the film too. So unfortunately at that point, if they do show up and they aren't right for the part, or they're very hard to deal with on set, it's just something you have to roll with. That's kind of like the the hand that at that point you're dealt. And at that point, we just got to be like, all right, how can we maybe shift the character in a way that fits better with this actor's style now from here on forward? And like, we've had to sometimes change characters on set based on how we see an actor's style. Like, all right, maybe, so, you know, maybe instead of playing this character one way and all of the other characters reacting to that character in that way, we change it to some other way to fit with the actor's acting style. So that's obviously happened before. But if it's someone big and someone that was very expensive, you know, usually, you know, that's not a situation where you recast or, you know, where you fire them. It's a situation where you go like, all right, how can we evolve and adapt? And that's what filmmaking is a lot. It's evolving and adapting to whatever you're basically dealt. And that's what we find a lot is, you know, in all areas of filmmaking, especially when on set, we're required to think on our feet a lot. Not only what I do, but every single department. You know, you're always thrown a curveball every day, and you just got to say, all right, how can we keep the train moving forward? Because it really is, it is like a team. You know, the whole film is a team. The actors, the crew, everyone's a big team. So it's all about like, all right, if we do have an issue, how can we solve it as a unit, and how can the unit keep going forward and the trains stay on the tracks and keep moving forward?
Word. In the movie industry, you know, a lot of people think that it's super glamorous, and it can be from time to time, but there's a lot of long days where you just kind of sit still, maybe not yourself,
right?
You know, what is, like, in your opinion, or for you, the most glamorous part of your job? Where you're like, oh, well, I do, because of
no, I mean, like, I mean, sure, obviously, you know, we get to we're able to hang out with a lot of people who are definitely known throughout like the world and throughout the country, and you know that we get to do a lot of very cool things. You know, sometimes we're able to travel for films as well, so we get to see a lot of cool places. Yeah, and it's just really like the people, you know, and it's being able, I mean, like, my favorite thing about the job is, you know, as I said earlier, it's all like a team. So everyone has a unique skill set that they add to the mix. And the final film is like basically made up of like everyone, actors, the crew, you know, from everyone in every department. So that's one of my favorite aspects of the job. But as far as glamorous, I think it's just one, being able to travel, you know, whether we're traveling for like a premiere in LA or New York, or, you know, you know, or like a film festival in Europe or something like that. So that's definitely all very glamorous. But my favorite part of the whole scene above all else is just almost kind of like the teamwork factor. You know, I was always I was always like a team guy as like a kid, you know, so just to be able to take that mentality and now to apply it to my everyday life is something that I really enjoy.
Really very cool. We're almost to the fun part of the interview.
Love
it. What kind of advice would you give to someone, you know, who wants to break in? Maybe they're an actor, maybe they're a writer, but they want to maybe also experience the other side of the camera, and kind of do what you do.
Yeah. Take every opportunity. Don't honestly give up, because, you know, when I was out of college and I was so when I was out of college, I was a paralegal for 2 years. But during that time, I was also trying to like get any film internship or any, you know, anything I could possibly get. And I think it took like 8 or 9 months before I was able to land my first internship on a set as an unpaid PA. So I would just say, like, keep going forward. Don't let the fact you've submitted, you know, all of these, you know, you've reached out to all kinds of filmmakers and production companies, and, you know, just don't let that stop you from being able to get kind of like your foot in the door. You know, if you keep trying, you're going to be able to get on a set eventually. And then, you know, whether it's as an actor or a crew member or anything, just when you have that opportunity, use it to the fullest and try to work your hardest and bring something to like the table while you're there. And, you know, just, you know, almost, you know, as an asset, you know, if you can be an asset on set, then people will remember that either in front or behind the camera, and they'll think of you when they're doing like the next film and like the next film. And then hopefully through that, you can expand like the network that you have in that sense. So
Is there a huge difference between television movies and big screen movies?
yeah, hold on. Wait, hold on, Daryl, really quickly. The first part of kind of like the question, you froze.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
I was saying, is there a real difference between filming for a television movie and filming for a like motion picture, like on a big screen?
Oh yeah. I mean, anything you see on the big screen is millions and millions of dollars, and television movies are well below that. It's definitely a smaller crew, you know, versus the big films you see on the screen and the films that are made for TV. It's for sure a smaller crew, just a smaller size in general. But I'll tell you this, everyone is working just as hard, and everyone is, you know, giving their all to make the best product possible. So like, you know, I've seen, you know, I've been, you know, in the last few years, I've been able to be on some very big sets and some very small sets. And, you know, usually no matter the size, everyone is definitely, you know, trying to give 110%, you know, to be able to make the best product. So, but yeah, I mean, like I'd say the size is the biggest difference between the two. I mean, you're like, you know, on those big films you see in theaters or studio films, you're talking of, you know, 300 people on like a set sometimes, or, you know, 300, 400, 500 versus, you know, on those TV movies, sometimes it's only 50 or sometimes it's only like 100 or even less than that. So I'd say the size is the biggest difference.
What do you guys? What's the one project that you want to work on that you haven't worked on yet? Do you want to do a cartoon? Do you want to do a?
Yeah. So this is the thing, and I know when you interview Chad Jr., he'll say the same thing. So this movie Jungle Rules or Jungle Room, you know, it's about, you know, AI and virtual reality, and it's a script we've had for a while, and we've tried to get off the ground for a while, but it would be a very expensive script. It would be the most ambitious and expensive script we've been involved in. So, but that's like kind of like a project that we've had for a while that we've been trying to find, you know, the right fit in terms of cast and financing to shoot it. But it's just a lot of EFX and very high concept stuff that that it's on the back burner now, but it's definitely a film that, and like I'll say this, and I know a few other people who I work very closely with will say this as well. That's like almost the top film we all want to do at some point. It's just about being able to get there and for the technology to get there as well. Because, you know, right now to do everything we would want to do with it, it would be very expensive. But, you know, who knows in a few years, you know, as you've seen, all of like the technology and AI and everything has evolved so much in like the last few years that, you know, who knows in the film industry and filmmaking where we'll be in like 5 years.
Indeed. It seems like it grows leaps and bounds.
Yeah, right.
You know, every 10 years, the technology gets 100 times better.
Yeah.
So here's it just for the folks that are, and I want to make sure that we're educating people as we go along as well.
Yeah, sure thing.
You know, for the actors out there, obviously they go through the audition process, right?
Yeah.
What about, like, what advice do you have for like writers because a lot of times, like you can't just solicit it a lot of
Yeah.
times. And so, like, what's your advice for like writers who are trying to get their movie made through a studio, like they're trying to sell it to you?
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, this industry is all about connections. So one, make a lot of connections with local filmmaking groups, on online, Facebook, Instagram. Make a lot of connections and expand kind of like the almost expand like the web you have, So that's for any job, but also as like a writer. My own advice for writing is try to focus on not that many locations and not that many speaking roles. Because when you add a lot more locations and a lot more speaking characters to the script, then it turns into a way more expensive film than if you keep things very condensed and focus on the characters instead of trying to create this huge world. Obviously, if you're a bit established, then you can start to, expand like the script and all that. But if you're trying to start out, try to make a script that is, very small scale, can be shot for cheap, and that'll be more attractive to at least independent film producers. And then that will get your foot in the door. And when you have a few established, films for there and writing credits from there, then you'll be able to hopefully tackle the larger stuff.
Nice. Do you have a favorite quote?
Quote.
Yeah.
Damn, hold on, let me think. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Very famous quote. It's a great quote. I enjoy it.
Right.
If you could recommend a book for folks to read, what would be that book?
I haven't I read so many scripts now. I haven't read a book in ages, to be honest, Daryl, years. Because any reading I do is always now any of like the scripts that we have, and we have a lot to read. I'll have to get back to you on that one because that one's tough.
Paul gets paid to read, people.
Yeah, so. Right.
What is your go-to way to de-stress?
Yeah, and as I said, it's just take yourself out of like the situation, I guess, and just be alone with your thoughts. I also enjoy like the beach as well, like the beach in Rhode Island on a nice sunny day in the summer, because obviously, as you also know, in Rhode Island it gets very cold during like the I want to say November through February or March months, but I like going to the beach during the very nice, beautiful Rhode Island months. That's a really good way to take off the stress for sure.
Word. And now for the most important question, we've reached the most important question of all.
Yes.
When it comes to Pop-Tarts, are you a strawberry Pop-Tart guy or a cinnamon brown sugar Pop-Tart guy?
Strawberry Pop-Tart guy. And we have on our sets, this is something a lot of people also talk about, because we have all the Pop-Tarts on our sets, and everyone's always like, oh, it's strawberry, no, it's this. So
well, you made the right decision.
Yeah, good. Awesome, brother. Good.
You can come back anytime.
You can come back. Love it, dude. I mean, dude, honestly, hopefully we'll like see you in like a film soon, So I mean,
yeah, man. I've had the opportunity to work with you guys a few times, and so far I haven't made it on the cutting room floor yet. So I think I'm doing okay.
Not yet. And I just saw you in a scene that I saw earlier today for the film for the Lifetime film Till Death that we shot back in June. So
nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
that was a good set to be on.
Yeah, wait. I'm just really quickly going through my head. So you were in Till Death with us, Johnny and Clyde. I know
Yeah.
that one.
Uh,
The Last Tenant. Were you in The Last Tenant?
no, I was in The Collective.
Oh, also like The Collective. All right, nice,
And
nice.
the what is now Atomic Blonde. I don't know what it was when I filmed the
Oh
300.
yes, right, exactly. Knockout Blonde.
Knockout
Yeah,
Blonde. Yeah.
yeah. So Knockout Blonde, which just came out in the UK a few weeks ago, actually. So no release yet in the US, but it came out in the UK. I want to say 2 weeks ago, and it got some pretty solid reviews. So
Very cool. Very cool. Paul, thank you for coming on today, man. I appreciate you chopping it up with us and giving some insight on, definitely how you deal with the stresses of being a movie maker. Anything you want to promote? How can people get in touch with you if they want?
oh yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I mean, I'm not a big social media guy, so I don't use Instagram or Facebook that much. I'm an old school email, Paul Luba at vertifilms.com. So if anyone does want to reach out to me for anything like that, you can slide an email my way. And not anything to promote right now, but we have a lot of things in the work that we're really excited. Actually, no, that's not true. We just had a film that premiered, Chosen Family. It's a rom-com of sorts, and that's going to be released October 11th. And we just had another film that came out a few months ago that we're really proud of, Junction. So that everyone should check that out as now. Yeah.
I did some background on that.
Yeah, right. All right. So yeah, you were also in that one then. So yeah, that was released a few months ago. Very impactful story. I think anyone who sees it, it'll draw at like the heartstrings a bit. So
Fantastic. Go see those movies. Follow us on all the Facebooks and everything and the YouTube channels. Go hit that like and subscribe. This has been another episode of Inside the Mind of. This week, or this episode, we're talking with the incomparable Paul Luba. Paul, thank you very much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next
awesome,
time.
Daryl. Thank you, brother.